National champion, that is a word not often heard in the world of the Citadel, but here on today's Citadel Gray Line from CRM Sports, we're going to talk national championship courtesy of a member of the class of 1992. His name is Chris Lemonis, and he is the head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And if you tuned in back in June in Omaha, the MSU Bulldogs captured that school's very first national championship in any sport. And it was certainly MSU, a proud baseball program's first national championship. And here on the Citadel Gray Line today, we're going to bring on Chris Lemonis in just a second. We also have Jeff Hartsell of the Charleston Post and Courier. He's on with us each and every week. Jeff, how about that? We've got a national championship connection with the Citadel. In fact, I'm going to tell people here in just a second, we actually kind of sort of have two national championship connections at El Cid.
Yeah, it's just amazing what Chris has been able to do at Mississippi State. And when you think about Chris Lemonis and Dan McDonnell working on the same staff at the Citadel and to see how far they've come in the college baseball world, really, it's a great story.
It is definitely that. And here on the Gray Line, we're glad to have on Chris Lemonis again, who joins us. Let's go straight to Stark Vegas, where he is standing by, and let's be the Citadel ambassadors to welcome him in and say congratulations on your success, Chris.
I appreciate it. It's been a fun ride just the whole time. The Citadel, then I get to coach with Mac at Louisville and bounce around to Indiana and end up here, and then being able to win the first one here at Mississippi State's been a pretty cool thing, and it's made for a hectic fall, but a good fall. It's just been a lot of fun.
So hectic, in fact, that literally moments before we come on the air, Chris, you're having to fend off the fans coming and knocking on your window wanting to, I guess, take your picture.
Well, they wanted autographs, so we had to, I look up at my window right before we started. I had two people knocking on the window and wanted us to sign their posters. And, the guy making the most money here in Starkville right now is the frame shop. They've more things being framed and done, and jerseys and front pages of papers, and it's a really big deal here for our community in terms of people have been waiting for a national championship for a long time.
They have. I think Mississippi as a state had not had a national championship in any sport, and it had to be about the only southern state that did not have that claim. We'll talk more about that in a second. We also want to talk today about a little Citadel football as we go through the show. The Dogs have another tough loss at Johnson Hagood Stadium, 34-7. Mercer comes in, and Jeff, what a bad way the season has turned. Right now, the Citadel 2-6, getting ready for a road trip not far away from Starkville to Homewood to take on the Sanford Bulldogs.
Yeah, it seems like whenever Britt Thompson can get one issue fixed, another one raises its head. The defense was not good in the previous game, and they sort of got that fixed against Mercer and held Mercer to about 20 points through 3.5 quarters. But special teams and offense were not good at all, and that led to their demise as Mercer scored 17 points in the final few minutes of the game.
And we'll talk more about that loss. We'll talk more about the upcoming trip to Sanford after we wrap up with Chris Lemonis. Chris, feel free to weigh in on football because I know you're a little bit of a Citadel football insider. I saw you at that great Citadel-Alabama game in 2018, and I thought you were maybe giving some plays to the coaching staff to help us lead to maybe the biggest upset in college football history.
Man, that was a fun first half, I can tell you that. We had a blast. It was a short trip over for me, and I'm a huge Citadel football guy. Back in, when I was in school there, we had great football teams, and my two roommates was Lester Smith and Shannon Walker, two of the starters there on that championship team, and we just had so many good friends on the football team. I'm actually coming back in about a week or so for homecoming, so I'm looking forward to seeing the guys play. Will
you actually sign autographs when you're back at the Citadel?
They won't ask me down there. They'll give me a hard time. The good thing about coming back to the Citadel is you get heckled there. So my pals and my buddies, they just give me a hard time. So they treat me a lot nicer here in Starkville.
And when you were a cadet, weren't you in Tango Company?
Oh, November.
Oh.
Company of Pride.
Oh, sorry about that.
Company, and we had a bunch of us in November back in the day, though. So a lot of baseball players.
Ah, okay. Was Dan McDonnell your roommate too?
Well, we roomed on the road. We roomed, when we got out of school. But he was in Tango. He was the Tango
Okay,
one, so he
sorry.
went over there. So I had Scott Elvington, and then Lester and Shannon were my roommates while I was there. So we had a good crew, and Tony Skoll was in November. We just had a lot of guys in November company that we were pretty close.
Really, really neat. Well, we're going to kind of walk through the Chris Lemonis story, if you don't mind. You might want to get your Kleenex over there on standby.
Yeah.
So you actually grew up in the Grand Strand area of South Carolina. When did the Citadel even show up on your radar?
It's funny. I moved to Myrtle Beach my junior year at Christmas, and my baseball coach. I played for a coach my junior year, and then he retires, and my senior year we get Rick Hardwick. Rick Hardwick was a catcher here at the Citadel, and he kind of got me into that connection a little bit. And then I actually made an academic visit to the Citadel in the fall of my senior year, and we made it about halfway through the visit, and I just told my parents I'm not going to the Citadel. That's not the type of school I want to go to. So, but we turned in all our academic stuff, and then I had a good senior year. And after my senior year, I mean, kids commit so early now, it's crazy. But it's probably June, and Coach Hardwick talks to Coach Port, and I have an academic scholarship, and they invite me to come and play. So I was a walk-on, and one of my best stories is the very first day we walk in there. We walk in, and I have to walk all the way to the back of the locker room, and my locker's right beside the commode. So my dad just there's nowhere else to go but up. So starting in that clubhouse, and I was a true walk-on. I didn't play for a couple of years, so I had a lot of hard work ahead of me to get on the field.
Well, you got on the field, of course. Those teams of the early 90s were something special. The 1990 team going all the way to the College World Series in Omaha. And from what I understand from my insiders on that team, the bus was, I guess, fairly small or something like that. They only took, 25 players to Omaha for the World Series?
Something like that. It was 25, 27, somewhere in there. I didn't get to make the trip. So, obviously crushed as a young player and everything else. But, it probably motivated me, probably made me the player I was after that to be able to jump in and be a part of, future really good teams there.
The number I've always been told is 22, Chris.
It could have been something like, because I was on the team all the way through until there at the very end. So it got cut, taking people to Omaha. So that's, when we wanted our first year at Louisville, for me to get to go to Omaha for my first time. I still remember Tony was there and giving me a big hug and tears in his eyes. And, it was special, being able to get to go after, being so close to being able to go. So, but yeah, it got cut down there at that point.
Mm-hmm.
This year, actually, with COVID, I probably am sensitive to it. I took all my guys. So I made our AD, and I let everybody. We had guys sitting in the stands, but they were there, and we actually recognized them all this weekend. Everybody got rings. Everybody got awards. When you're so close to that, and I was a guy who kind of got left off of it, I'm probably a little more sympathetic than most.
Yeah, what a weekend.
What were the days like?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Chris, what were the days like when you and Dan were working for Fred Jordan at the Citadel and hitting the road and finding all those players that helped the Citadel have their glory years?
They were long, but they were fun. I was teaching school from 7 to 1 in the afternoon, and then I was, coming over to the ballpark, but we were doing what we loved, and we really enjoyed doing it. Coached so many great players there. Freddie was great for us because, we thought we knew everything, two young coaches, and he was able to give a lot of guidance for us at that point, and just good old-fashioned work ethic at what it came down to a lot. And I learned so much. And I always say, my background, even our background with Coach Port, was so fundamental for us. And then Freddie, and then, being able to work with Dan. Dan's been a huge part of my career and a motivation of my career because he is so talented. But, we had a lot of fun back in those days, but it was a lot of work. I mean, it wasn't you had to really beat the bushes for players like you do now and find that hidden guy.
Jeff, I'm glad you asked that question because When Chris Lemonis went from Indiana to Mississippi State to be the head baseball coach in 2018, I watched his introductory press conference there on the campus of Mississippi State University. And Chris, I don't think I've laughed as hard as I did that day when you started talking about your experience at the Citadel and recruiting when you got your degree and came back as a coach. It was just hilarious to hear you talk about that. So I actually have that clip, and we're going to take a moment here on the Citadel Gray Line and go back to 2018 when he got hired at MSU, where he talks about his job and his days at the Military College of South Carolina.
For two great head coaches, Chalport, who was in the Hall of Fame, he's no longer with us, and Fred Jordan, who was my mentor, played for him, coached for him, and was there for me. He just recently retired at the Citadel, and I'm just so thankful to play with him. My group I've learned at every spot. My Citadel was my grinder spot. You would recruit 10 kids and you wouldn't get one. And you'd ask them where they were going. They say, Coach, we don't have any offers, but we're not going there. But you just had to learn and keep working. You had to keep grinding. You had to keep moving forward. And it was a great place. I'm so thankful for my time at the Citadel. I did get to coach.
All right. That, again, taking you back to 2018 when he got hired at MSU, and a grinder. That's what the Citadel teaches, eh?
That's what it teaches. That's exactly what it teaches. And, I've been working. I worked this morning on my, you have to give the speech at the baseball coaches convention. The national championship coach speaks the first speech coming up, and our speeches are due today. And, but with the Citadel, that's my biggest piece when I talk about my past is that's where I learned how to grind and work and do more and build a better relationship. We had to do more. And I think that's the biggest piece of that, what the Citadel shows you. And, my time there was very special.
We are talking with Chris Lemonis, head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, a former Citadel assistant, of course, a former Citadel player, a first baseman and right fielder back in the Chalport and Fred Jordan era in the early 1990s. He's a member of the class of 1992. We are the show that covers all things Citadel. We are Citadel Gray Line, and we want to let y'all know that here on the Gray Line, we give you a chance to win. Maybe not a national championship, but we're going to try to figure out how to do that. But we give you a chance to have knob knowledge, and that gives you a chance to win $25, a gift certificate to BigRedPalmetto.store. And we've got a Chris Lemonis-centric trivia question this week that we are going to fire away and give you a chance to win $25 to BigRedPalmetto.store. And that question is, can you name the jersey number that Chris Lemonis still wears that he can trace back to his days playing for the Bulldogs over at College Park in Charleston, South Carolina as a Citadel Bulldog? It's a number he wore for the Citadel. It's a number he still wears as head coach at Mississippi State, the defending national champion of college baseball. If you'll fire away to 843-779-8496, you'll get the $25 gift certificate from BigRedPalmetto.store, and we'll be happy to pass that along. Who knows? We might even find a way to get a Chris Lemonis autographed something headed your way if you can guess his jersey number. Speaking of knobs, were you a pretty good knob, Chris?
I wouldn't say I was a great one. I tried my best. I had no military background or anything showing up, but I was better than Hank Kraft. That's probably I had Hank with me. Hank was in my company, stood by me all the time, and I just tried to be one step ahead of him. So.
Well, it sounds like you had the academic thing going, which a lot of us, when we show up there, we're not necessarily the brightest in our bunch. And if you were getting offers academic-wise, you must have had gold stars your knob year.
Well, I didn't have gold stars. I started as an engineer. And it's a funny story. My dad was an engineer here at Mississippi State. And after about 3 weeks, there was just no way I wanted to be an engineer. So I had to turn back academic money. I had to call my dad and explain to him that, Dad, sorry, I don't want to be an engineer. And he was fine with it. But he asked me what I wanted to be after that. And I said, I want to coach. And, his big, he wasn't wanting me to go into coaching, So I went from EE to PE. And but I joke with him all the time now. If I was an engineer, he would have had a board retirement because he's at every game. He's in Omaha. He's in regionals, super regionals, and he loves the baseball side. But he wasn't real happy when I did it originally.
No. And speaking of your dad, he lives in Starkville. I saw the video of you greeting him after you flew back in from Omaha. Your dad's had some health struggles, correct?
He has. He is. I lost my mom last year. She was his caretaker. So we brought him here, and he's in a home here. He's got dementia, so it's some memory loss. But the cool thing, when we got back that day, he knew exactly what we had done. The next day, we got to go on the parade, so he got to ride in the front of the fire truck with me, and he waved to everybody, and just had a magical day. And it was a lot of fun. He was in the hospital 11 of the 14 days we were in Omaha. So,
Gosh.
We were real worried about him. But he's a tough old bird, and he, I go by and see him. I play golf with him. He sits in my golf cart and hangs out. I'll get him a Coors Light, and he'll ride around the course. My golf course is right next to his home, so I get to ride. I get over in my golf cart and grab him. In these COVID times, it's probably the best thing that we could just stay outside. But he's great. He's loved it and enjoyed it, and that video pretty much went viral. I think everybody in the country's asked me about it, but it was pretty heartfelt.
It's heartfelt. Now, I saw that video, Chris, but I discovered that video of the jubilation when y'all flew back into Golden Triangle Regional Airport right outside of Starkville for the celebration there when you got back home. But what a celebration it was in Omaha. So in case y'all missed it, let's take you back to June of this past summer when Mississippi State captured its first national championship. Here is that special moment. Have you seen this video, Chris?
I'm not sure.
Here we go.
Pushes a bunt to third. James to first. He's out!
Hey, what do you think?
Yeah, I've seen that one. That was there's been so many of them I never know, but yeah, it's pretty special. When our fans took over that fan base, that town, it was unbelievable. You could not walk, you couldn't go get lunch. You just it was crazy.
I think your guys received their rings at the football game last weekend. Is that right?
We did. They got we had a little celebration here on campus. Had everybody back, got their rings. They did a great job of celebrating the guys at the football game. When you have a standing ovation of about 65,000 and they're all ringing their cowbells, it was pretty cool for our guys to hear, and just nice to have everybody back. It's amazing when that's over. We're together and everything's so intense, and then 3 days later everybody's separated, going their own ways. The draft, the summer baseball, going home. So it was nice to have the guys all under one roof again, and their families, which was really special.
And it was a special night at Davis-Wade Stadium. Not only was the team recognized, but Chris, for the first time, Mississippi State's football team under the direction of Mike Leach came out with that great Mississippi State baseball logo affixed to their helmet.
Yeah, it was, there's we wear our own logo here. So baseball team has the M over S. And very popular, but they wanted to recognize us on the football field, and so I thought it was an awesome idea, and it looked great. I have a feeling people are wanting them to wear it more and more now, after they played great too that night. So, but it's cool for us. It's a really nice logo, and just to have the whole football. Mike Leach got some baseball background. He coached some baseball when he was younger, and has a lot of interest in the game. And we'll have the baseball staff. The football staff will be at a lot of baseball games because they love it. And actually, their offensive line coach was sending me pics this morning because he's a huge Braves fan. So he's an Atlanta boy. So he was fired up. The Braves won last night.
Yes, they did. And surely to goodness, somebody has forwarded you one of those great football helmets with your logo.
No, I haven't got one yet. I'd like to get one, though. That's a good idea.
John Cohen, are you listening?
That's probably right.
John Cohen, by the way, if y'all don't know who he is, he's the athletic director at Mississippi State, a former MSU player, and went on to be a coach. Coached Mississippi State, kind of did the Ray Tanner thing, stepped aside from being a head baseball coach to be athletic director. So I would think he's done a pretty good job, Chris.
Yeah, he's done great. I actually have two of them. I got John Cohen and I got Ron Polk, who used to be the baseball coach here forever as another AD. So a lot of days they're sitting up top putting together the lineup for me. So I give them a hard time all the time. They've both been great, but I do have a lot of resources here for me. And I've used Jon a lot in my first couple of years of, all right, put the baseball coach's hat on. What do you think about this? And he has a brilliant baseball mind. Thinks outside the box, a little different than most, but sees the game in a different way and is a good guy to lean on.
Chris, what's the aftermath of the championship been like as you go into fall baseball and get ready for next season?
It's been a little hectic. Obviously, the speaking engagements and fans they're just so fired up about it. But our kids have done a great job. They have, we had a talk, and I spoke to a couple of coaches who'd won it before, and I just, everywhere we go, it's the defending national champions or this and that, and that was last year's team. We've talked about a lot. So this group has had to really lock in, and we talk about being in attack mode, attacking the next year. So we've had a great fall, really gotten after it. We're off the field now. We're kind of in our weight room segment and doing some individual stuff. But, we've kind of got everything done. It's just been a little bit more stuff to do than normal, which was what you would expect after a year like that. And it's awesome. I tell our kids all the time, there's going to be someday nobody wants your autograph or take a picture with you, so you might as well enjoy it while everybody's loving you. And, that's what we've kind of done this fall a little bit. We've tried to work on that this upcoming year, but also they're professional enough to where they can handle the attention on the other side.
Great.
Have you gotten to know Doug Novak at all?
Yeah, so I knew Doug, and what's funny, Doug was my assistant coach was at Tulane when Ed and Doug were there too. So Doug kind of knows two of us over there, and so Doug's come by, doing well. Kind of a weird situation, but he is he's got his hands full, but it's a good situation. He's head coach in the SEC, and we're looking forward to him doing a great job.
For those who don't know, Doug Novak was Ed Conroy's right-hand man at the Citadel when Ed won 20 games in a season a few years ago. And he moved on to coach in Minnesota at Tulane, as you said, and in Minnesota. And now he's the interim women's basketball coach at Mississippi State. And women's basketball is a thing at Mississippi State.
It is a thing here. But 2 years before I got here, we lost in the national championship game.
Yeah.
So we sell out every night in women's. We're right there with where we were right with South Carolina, or a little behind them when I got here. So it was a great rivalry between the two, and but we've fallen off here in the last year probably a little bit, but it's looking forward to getting it back. Just getting through COVID and all that's just a tough piece. So hopefully Doug can get us going in the right direction.
He'll have to match wits with Don Staley.
Yeah. Good luck with that one. That's one of the hardest ones in the country right now. So,
yeah,
and
the hardest.
Mississippi State actually played back-to-back in national championship games. Somehow they lost both, unfortunately for them.
They did. They 2 great years there in a row with some great players. So, 2 heartbreakers.
Chris, what are your thoughts on the struggles of Citadel baseball in recent years? I know the landscape of recruiting has changed so much since you and Mac were putting together your teams back in the day. What do you think of how the Citadel fits in the landscape right now?
Well, it is just such a different job than it was when we were there. And I just, so many more schools are good at baseball, so many more there's not as many of the hidden kid anymore. In Citadel, we would just outwork you and find a kid. A lot of kids that we had commit, they weren't getting recruited by anybody because nobody knew about them, And so nowadays with Palmetto games and all the great services that y'all have in your state, it just makes it tougher to get some of those type of kids. And then, it's just hard. The whole time I was there, even as a player, we were one of the best teams in the conference in that part of the country. And as it fell, now trying to get it back up, that's going to be the hardest piece for Tony, I think. And I think we got the right staff, how they work and how hard it is. But it's, 1 year at a time, just trying to make some incremental increases so that we can get to the middle of the conference and work our way back to the top of the conference. So I really enjoyed coming back. I hate that Tony had COVID last year and we came back. It was really, being able to come back for that game. We were trying to come back, and it just worked in our schedule to where we could play those guys. It was a fun trip, but I'm looking forward to them getting back on top. We talk a lot. I talk to Tony a couple times a week, and I know the effort that staff is making.
Chris, you've done some cool stuff in your time at Mississippi State, and as you just mentioned, coming to Charleston, South Carolina, a place I'm sure maybe a lot of your players had actually never been to. You played on a Thursday, maybe a Wednesday, in a midweek game against the Citadel this year, and then you went on and had a series in Columbia against the Gamecocks. What all did y'all do when you were in Charleston? What was it like to bring an SEC team from so far away to the Military College of South Carolina?
Well, we stayed kind of near downtown, so I just kind of gave them the night and let them hang out and go downtown and eat and see the city. We got in kind of early that day, so we practiced, and we didn't even practice here. We just had them, be able to go out and enjoy Charleston, get a good meal, and we were able to. I got Scott Foxhall on my staff, who's a Charleston guy too, so it was nice. We all had a bunch of friends meet us downtown, have a nice meal, hang out, show my staff a little bit of the city, and it was nice. It was nice being able to touch base, but it was short. I mean, we got in on a Tuesday, and Thursday we play Wednesday, and then Thursday we're gone. So. But I did get to hang out with Freddie. I just got to see some, a bunch of old friends that we had been around forever.
Another cool thing. Go ahead.
You mentioned
Go ahead,
Scott
Jeff.
Foxhall, who coached here at the College of Charleston and helped John Pulowski build their great teams back in the day. What has Fox meant to your program?
Well, he was, I don't know if everybody knows, but he was the National Assistant Coach of the Year. So, one, as a pitching coach, he's just really good. We've pitched at a high level. We set so many records this past year in terms of strikeouts in the World Series and most in a game. And we've had first rounders and just the development piece. But on the flip side, it's a very calming personality. It's a very good relationship guy, not just with the players, but with the coaches. And these are stressful jobs. So, being able to be around people who are intense competitors, but also can handle the moments and everything. I think that's some of his greatest strengths for me, just being the head coach and being able to lean on him, with our pitching staff. And he has full control on our pitching staff. So if we'll sit and talk about things, but he calls every pitch. He, now in the middle of a game, we're just deciding when and where we use somebody. But, I give it a lot to him. I mean, he is a big part of our success.
We're talking again to Chris Lemonis, head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And again, he was a Citadel cadet in the early 1990s and ended up being an assistant coach in Charleston for many years before going on to be with his classmate from the Citadel and teammate Dan McDonald at Louisville, then got a chance to be the head coach at Indiana. Great job there. Obviously, if you had not done the job you did there in Bloomington, you wouldn't have been picked to be MSU's coach. And you came down there, and honestly, every year you've been in Starkville, you've taken a team to Omaha. I mean, that's quite a run you got there. This year at Omaha, I do want to say one thing that I just, again, shows maybe the class act that you are and your program is. I don't know who set this up, but NC State actually played a football game in Starkville this year, and you invited Elliott Avent, the coach of NC State, to come and be recognized as NC State. If y'all remember from Omaha, they got COVIDed out and they were on a run and ended up having to leave Omaha. And y'all just did something really cool and recognized the Wolfpack there at Davis Wade Stadium.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. I've had a long relationship. Elliott used to come and play at the Citadel every year, so we started building a relationship there. And then I had Scott Foxhall, Tyler Younger, and Bobby Austin. I had 3 coaches on my staff or staff members on my staff that were from NC State. And then actually my entire, I feel like all my nieces and nephews, my wife's from North Carolina, they're all NC State fans. So it just worked, and it was really a cool weekend. He came in, and our fans recognized him. But I thought one of the cool things was he coached Team USA, and I had 3 guys on Team USA. So he came and hung out at practice, spoke to our team, he was talking to our parents. I mean, he is one of the best people in college baseball and really entertaining. And so it was a lot of fun to have him back. And that team just had, I can't imagine going through what those guys went through because you worked so hard to get to that point and then have that pulled away from you. So it was nice to be able to recognize him and his program.
Want to remind people that we're still looking for a knob knowledge answer. And the question was, what was the number Chris Lemonis wore at the Citadel that he continues to wear as a coach at Mississippi State? If you know the answer to his jersey number, 843-779-8496. We've already had one person text in and said, Lemon, and I think they intentionally said this, Lemon didn't wear a number at the Citadel. What do you say about that?
At my first year, Coach Port probably didn't give me one, so that's probably what they're giving me a hard time about. But I did wear one when I was there, so everybody called me Limo or Lemon or Lim. But yeah, that's probably what somebody's referring to.
And speaking of nicknames in Citadel baseball, I have to give a special thank you to our production assistant here who has helped find some of these great photos that we've been looking at here on the show. And Chris, that production assistant would be a guy named John Harrison.
Oh, wow. Well, tell John I said Harry. Well, his nickname's Harry, so – but tell him I said thanks. Those are nice skinny pictures. I like seeing those, back in the day.
Jeff Hartsell.
Well, Chris, I know in Omaha there was a good contingent of Citadel guys there supporting you. Who all was there, and what did that mean to you?
Wow, I had a just a good group of my teammates there. Dan and Tony and Larry and Hank and Scott, Brad. I mean, the coolest part, and I spoke to this about our team, this weekend when I gave away our rings, and I missed, Hall of Fame weekend. So all my buddies were back in Charleston, and I was here handing out rings. But they got on the field after the game, and my wife was able to get them down there. My athletic director got them down on the field. And to be standing there with your former teammates, and that's not everybody wants to go on that trip, but it's not an easy trip. It's probably $1,000 flight. It's $500 a night of hotel rooms. It's expensive. Tony came out twice during the World Series and hung out with us. And I can't tell you how it diffuses the stress when your buddies are there and making you laugh and just, keeping it real for you instead of staying focused on the games. And but being on the field with them afterwards, I mean, we have a really, really close group. We call them we got a pals group. We vacation together. We golf together. We get back to Charleston a couple times a year. It meant the world to me to have them there. And it's just really special to be able to look back at those pictures of us with the national championship trophy. And hopefully we can do it again. And we got two chances because Mac's making a run here soon. He's made a couple of them already. So, but it's just a really special thing to have your best friends with you on a special moment like that.
And we know from a recent guest here on the Citadel, you even had some of your former players at the Citadel come out and see you. Chip Cannon said he stopped by and said hello to you there in Omaha.
Well, I'm just walking down the street, and I walk by, and Chip's standing right there, so we get to talk. And it's hard to miss Chip walking down the street, which was one of my favorite players to coach. He was a really good player, but just a great kid and a tough kid. But I've run into a handful, and I get them here. Some former players or Citadel people come here to games here in Starkville, or it's been fun. Even Indiana, I'd have look up and you see the Citadel. And actually, I came out of CVS. You'll like this story. I've seen this Jeep running around town with a Citadel bumper sticker and a Citadel parking, so it had to be somebody young. I've seen it all fall. It's a small town, so it's not like Charleston. And I went into CVS last week, and the Jeep was parked in the spot. And I'd already been in CVS, but I just waited. And a young guy came walking out, and I introduced myself. I said, "Hey, tell me." And he goes, "No, I just graduated. I'm in veterinary school here. I was going to find you, Coach. I knew you were a Citadel guy and everything else, but you don't see a lot of it out here. A lot of the Citadel bumper stickers and stuff. So it was fun to see somebody from the Citadel.
It is, and as a longtime resident of the Magnolia State, 16 years. Trust me, people unfortunately don't know in many cases where the heck or what the heck. One day, not long ago, I mentioned that I went to the Citadel, and Chris, they thought I said I went to Cinnabon. So that was a really tough one to swallow.
That's a good place to go, too. So.
It is, but I didn't get a degree from Cinnabon. I got one from El Cid. Hey, speaking of Mississippi and speaking of the Citadel, you were the first program to win a national championship for the fellas in the state of Mississippi's history. Congratulations. You would have been the first one in the entire state of history if you had just played slightly about 2 weeks earlier. We've got to say a special salute to the women's golf coach at the University of Mississippi, and I know that's bad news in Starkville, but there's a Citadel connection. Corey Hinkes is the coach of the Ole Miss golf team. They won the national championship in women's golf this year. She's a native of Irmo, a former Gamecock golfer, and she is married to a Citadel class of 2000 member. And I actually ran into him one time when I went to the barbershop in Oxford, and he saw that I was wearing something Citadel, and he said, "Oh, I went there." Kenneth is her husband, and they live in Oxford. Wow. And again, they won the national championship. Yep. Cool. He's a class of 2003. He works in Tupelo, so maybe y'all run into each other there in Elvis's hometown.
That's not far away. It's about
no, I know about 50 minutes. I know it well. Yeah. But Kenneth is the husband of her, and she won the national championship. Which, trust me, Jeff and I both love golf. That program came out of nowhere and won a national championship. I wouldn't say the same for Mississippi State baseball. Y'all have been a great program. You mentioned Ron Polk earlier, one of the greats in college baseball. But how about that? 2 Citadel connections bringing national championships to the Magnolia State for the first time officially in that state's history. Salute.
Pretty cool. Yeah, cool.
Jeff Hartsell, anything else for Chris Lemonis before we let him go sign more autographs?
No, Chris, I just wanted to get you to say a word about, baseball at Mississippi State and the atmosphere and the culture, really second to none in the country.
Yeah, it is my assistant Jay Gotro was here the year before me, and he told me, he said, "You're not going to get it until you walk out of that dugout and the grills are going." And my first night here, I walked out of the dugout, and he was right. Now we were opening the new ballpark. We had every alumni who ever played there. So here it's like my first day on the job, my John Cohen gave me, "Hey, can you call a handful of these guys, of the former players?" And it looked like the American League and National League All-Star team, So it's just the history, the tradition, and then the atmosphere here. They built this ballpark, and it was built by a baseball person in John and the architects. It was built fan-friendly. It was built to be the funnest ballpark in the country to play in. And our fans do an unbelievable job. One of the cool things about just the longer I'm here, the more people I get to meet, the stories I get to hear. Our left field lounge, which now goes all the way to right field, the rigs and how they grew up around the ballpark. And every rig is named differently and it's decorated differently. And there's just so much personality to our ballpark. And our fans really know baseball. And so, being able to coach here, it's a great honor. There's a lot to hold up to. We win it, and now it's time to, play great again. But it's and there's not many schools where baseball is one of your top sports at your university in the SEC. I mean, just the footballs and basketballs usually dominate everything. But here, they have, baseball has just been good for so long that it sits forefront of everything for the most part. And we have other great programs here too.
I can't let you go without talking about the Braves. I don't know if you're a fan, but you coached Adam Duvall, who was a key midseason acquisition, I believe, for the Braves, their run to the World Series. What did you think of the Braves? And tell us a little bit about Adam Duvall.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to watch Adam. Adam was a kid who was a late-round draft pick. Well, we signed him late ourselves, 2-year player there at Louisville. And then, he had a journey, 6 or 7 years in the minors. This guy has stuck it out all the way around. And then to get traded here mid-year, lead the league in RBIs, and then have that game. I thought when he hit the grand slam in Game 5, I was over. I was so excited.
I did too.
And,
we all did.
But that wasn't to be. And then to win it last night. And Mac was there. I saw pics. Mac was there with some of the Louisville coaches getting to watch him. I'm sure it was awesome being able to watch him. And then, we have – Austin Riley is a Mississippi State family and guy. So Austin was committed here. His, his cousin and I coach his other cousin. His cousin's one of my best players right now. So there's a lot of Austin Riley talk in our clubhouse of guys, because he's just a little bit up the road too from us. But he is a special player, and from this part of the country, this fan base is, they all love the Braves here for the most part anyway. So I actually grew up in Houston as a Houston Astros ticket holder. My dad was. So, but I've gotten off the teams and I just cheer for the players now. I have so many guys out there. Last year we were cheering for Will Smith and the Dodgers, who played for us at Louisville. And, even if the Astros would have won, Kendall Graveman from here at Mississippi State was, pitching at the back end of their bullpen. So we just, I cheer more for the players now than for the actual team.
Chris, I think you'll appreciate this ride down memory lane for me. I know you were a Star of the West cadet there at the Citadel, and you're the perfect cadet, but I was not. The only time I walked tours as a Citadel cadet was my senior year, when I was the officer of the guard there in 1st Battalion, the senior cadet that's kind of in charge of keeping people from invading the battalion, if you will. And the only time I got in trouble where I had to walk tours, Chris, it was during the World Series, and I got caught stepping outside of the guard room wearing an Atlanta Braves hat, and some bozo turned me in, and I had to pound the quad for my support of the Atlanta Braves. So I was pretty happy that they won this week.
That was pretty good. Good for you. That was I don't know who told you I was a model cadet. So I like I told you, I always tried, but I had to walk some tours when I was there too. So more than one.
And Chris, as we wrap up, I know we were just talking about recruiting. You have one South Carolina gentleman on your roster right now. Do you mind bragging on that person?
I don't know if I do. Do I?
I think you got somebody from Fort Mill.
Oh, yeah, I got Mikey Tepper. Sorry. We have some recruiter that I can't talk about. We have a couple other kids from the area, but we do have Mikey Tepper from Fort Mill. That's right. And he is a really, really talented player. Going to have a chance to pitch at the end of the game for us this year. He has been 94, 96 this fall, so we're excited about him. Pitched in the Cape Cod League last year and had a really good summer, so we're looking forward to him. But with, my connections and Scott's connections, we have some kids committed from the state of South Carolina. Just such good baseball there. And if a kid's wanting to leave and doesn't have a connection to some of the big schools, then we've had some success getting them over here.
Now, don't you be stealing recruits from the Citadel, dadgummit.
No, we're not. Don't worry, we're not. I'm trying to. If I see a good one, I'm sending him to Tony that we're not signing. So we're trying. Or Zach Lucas, those guys. So Zach worked for me here at Mississippi State. So we're trying to help him out as much as we can.
Chris, thank you so much for your generous time. Congratulations on all the success, and we look forward to hopefully catching up with you maybe when you hoist up another national championship trophy.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you guys for your time. Y'all have a great day.
Everybody, your defending national championship coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, Chris Lemonis. Jeff, what a fun interview.
He's a great guy and obviously a great sense of humor. And he's the top dog in college baseball right now. No question about it.
Yep, top dog. And remember, as he said, he warned y'all he's going to be coming to the Citadel for homecoming. So they need to create maybe a booth for him and let people get their photos, because I know a lot of people just like there in Stark Vegas want a piece of Chris. He's a fun guy, like I said. He made me laugh so hard when he mentioned that deal about recruiting to the Citadel, and people said, "Coach, I don't have any other offers, but I'm not coming there."
That's the same thing he said when he was being recruited.
That's right. All right, Jeff, let's move over to talk a little Citadel football before we get out of here today. As mentioned, the Dogs of Brent Thompson, 2-6, another tough loss. A tough loss. Injuries also in the news. What's going on with this football program?
Well, it's not been a good season or a good couple of years, as we well know. We've documented over the weeks. They had a good start against Mercer. Tyler Cherry made one of the great catches I've seen by a Citadel player, by a Citadel receiver for an early touchdown. But then they were outscored 34-0 after that. And then a couple of key turning points. A punt. They were punting with the wind, but they hit a low line drive punt with no hang time, and that allowed a long punt return by Mercer that led to a touchdown. And then in the second half, they had a chance to, I think, cut it to 3. They got down to the 5-yard line. And on 3rd and 5, quarterback Jalen Adams took a big sack, about 17-yard loss. And then they missed the field goal. And after that, the floodgates sort of opened for Mercer as they pulled away with about 17 points in the final few minutes. So, it's a recipe and a pattern that we've seen repeat itself more than a few times over the last 20 games or so.
Yeah, it's unfortunately a thing that even you can sense it when you hear a press conference and more coming from the head coach of the Bulldogs. That's at least my opinion. Want to let y'all know that this program is presented in part by IPS Packaging and Automation. They are a name that you can trust. Since all the way back in 1976, IPS Packaging and Automation has been delivering products for manufacturers and e-commerce companies with the best products and automation in the entire industry. IPS offers a complete line of packaging products, stretch films, and 3M tapes. They've got corrugated boxes, strapping, and they also have a great line of automation. IPS Packaging and Automation will analyze and streamline your current methods to improve your packaging process. Give them a call at 800-277-7007 to learn more, or you can go to the website ipack.com, ipack.com. IPS Packaging and Automation, a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics. Please give them a call. I know if you own a business, it's amazing, especially as we're getting closer to the holidays. You might need to have just the right product. And in this world we live in where things right now are hard to come by, I know with their great supply of material in Fountain Inn that IPS Packaging will help you get your whole setup ready to ship things out when it matters most. IPS Packaging, thank you again for your great sponsorship through the years. Go to the website ipack.com, ipack.com. Still don't have an answer on the trivia question, so we'll keep monitoring that. The question was asked, what was the jersey number Chris Lemonis wore at El Cid that he continues to wear? This is not a very hard answer to find. You just got to go search a little bit. If you don't know that, you can find that. All right, so the Citadel loses at home to Mercer, now hitting the road against Samford, a team, frankly, Samford may have a coaching change of their own because they just can't seem to get over the hump themselves. That's the opponent. It's going to be a mid-afternoon game, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central from Homewood, just south of downtown Birmingham. Your thoughts on this road trip for Brent Thompson's team?
Well, it's a winnable game. In my opinion, Samford is 3-5 overall, 2-4 in the league. They've beaten Western Carolina and Wofford. They lost their last 2 games to Chattanooga, 55-13, and VMI 46-45 when they blew a big lead in the second half of that game. They can score. They average 36 points a game in SoCon play, but they also give up over 40 points a game. So it's going to be a question of whether the Citadel offense can hold on to the ball, keep it away from Samford quarterback Liam Welch and their high-scoring offense. They throw the ball all over the field. So Brent Thompson said he's aiming for about 40 minutes of possession time against Samford. You can run against Samford. They give up a lot of rushing yards. Their defense is not great. So the onus isn't really on the Citadel defense to slow down Samford as much as it is on the offense to keep the ball away from Samford and to kind of wear out that defense. And I think it's a winnable game. It really depends on which defense shows up, right? The one that played pretty well against Mercer or the one that got shredded by Western Carolina. So hopefully the defense can come up with another good plan like they had against Mercer for about 3.5 quarters.
Jeff, injuries is a storyline going on with this program. Can you give us any kind of update on that front?
Yeah, they actually had to play last week without their 2 top tacklers, Willie Eubanks and Anthony Britton. And it looks like both those linebackers will be out again this week. And then they lost guard John Barrett Lewis during the Mercer game, and not sure if he's going to be back as well. They tried a different kicker against Mercer. He missed his field goal, so that continues to be an issue, the kicking game. And then punter Matt Campbell had a low kick, as we mentioned earlier, that set up a long Mercer return. So they need a return to form from Matt Campbell as well.
Well, with the loss to Mercer, the Bulldogs now guaranteed to have a losing season. The best they can hope for is 5-6. What does that make? 3 of the last 5 years losing seasons, with the other one, I guess, being a break-even season?
Right. Ever since the 10-2 year in Brent Thompson's first season when they won the SoCon, they've been at 5 or 6 wins each year since then, until last fall and spring when they went 2-10 in the COVID season.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can get to 5-6, that would be pretty good accomplishment from where they sit now. But that's a big if.
Yeah, big if. So tough road challenge. I was there 2 years ago when they absolutely collapsed in the last couple of minutes. I had, I think, a double-digit lead with about 2 minutes left, and they somehow lost that game in triple overtime or quadruple overtime. It can be a scary place. And a long road trip. They have to actually leave, Jeff, on Thursday to get all the way out to Birmingham. I think they usually stop around Augusta and then move on over to Birmingham the next day.
That's right. It's a 2-day trip. And it'll be a tough assignment, but a winnable game, I think.
All right, Jeff, getting the optimism for us here, and that's why we got insider for the Post and Courier. Jeff _ from the PC is how you can get in touch with Jeff. And, of course, follow postandcourier.com or get the $4 for 4-month subscription that you can put on your smartphone or iPad. It's a very, very good offer. Jeff, other athletic goings-on at El Cid. You actually had a very well-written and a great lead in one of your recent postings at postandcourier.com. You had a story that was all about good news.
Yeah, how about that? I went to a Board of Visitors meeting to listen to Mike Capaccio's presentation on the state of Citadel athletics, and he said they have about $3.5 million in pledges to finally get something done on the east side of Johnson Hagood Stadium, where they've had temporary bleachers since about 2018. And they did not give a start date for when that might begin, but I'm thinking maybe this off season they might be able to get started on putting a more permanent structure over there on the visitors side of Johnson Hagood Stadium. And he also talked about the really a significant increase in ticket sales they've had this year for football over the 2019 season, which was, the pre-COVID season. 2020 was not good for ticket sales. So the fair comparison is to 2019, and season tickets are way up, and group sales and that sort of thing. And then when you factor in the 3 FBS games they were able to play last fall, and then their FBS game this year against Coastal Carolina, they're actually in a pretty good financial shape right now, coming out of the COVID season.
Okay. Again, it's an article you can go read for yourself there, postandcourier.com. Jeff Hartsell with the byline, and it looks like, if you had a construction background, Jeff, do you think they're going to start working on this thing on the new side in a couple of months?
That wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
They've given no start date, but Mike Capaccio is very optimistic about the amount of money they've been able to raise. Someone gave a $500,000 pledge toward that project last week, so they're up to about $3.5 million. And I think the total cost is going to come in maybe $4 to $5 million. That's just my opinion. So I think they're well on their way to getting started. He said they'll be able to work in phases, so they don't have to have the total amount for the project on hand when they get started. So, I'm optimistic.
He's optimistic, and we're optimistic here as we hopefully will have a completed stadium and it won't be out there kind of barren as it is now if you see a game. One of the questions about this stadium revitalization, Jeff, is that at one time the Citadel was talking to the Charleston Battery about possibly sharing the Citadel. That's why the artificial surface actually extends a little bit longer on the sidelines and more. Where do we stand with the Citadel and the Battery?
That is not happening. The Battery has their own facility. They share with College of Charleston at Patriots Point in Mount Pleasant. They put a lot of money into renovating and improving the site over there. So they're very happy where they're at Patriots Point. Okay,
now I don't happen to hang out in Charleston all the time. The Battery did have a heck of a place over on Daniel Island. They're out of there now?
Yes, the previous owner sold that land for development. The stadium has been taken down.
Okay.
The video board from that stadium was moved over to Patriots Point, to their soccer stadium. So it's really a very nice facility that the Battery and the College of Charleston have collaborated on over there at Patriots Point.
All right. But the way the Johnson Hagood Stadium redo with the artificial turf, it is capable of doing soccer there now, right?
It is. And the issue with the Battery and the United Soccer League was you cannot have football lines on your stadium to play in that league, right? They don't allow that. So something would have to be done to cover up the football markings for Battery games, and that was just not feasible in my opinion. But the Battery, this issue was settled a while ago, and the Battery is over at Patriots Point, and very happy with their facility there. One thing Mike Capaccio did mention was the possibility of having concerts and other events at Johnson Hagood Stadium, and I think they've been talking about that for a while, and we haven't seen it really happen. But I think they're going to step up their efforts to make that happen now that they have the artificial turf, and COVID is hopefully winding down. There's more bands on tour now than there were during COVID, so they're trying to find a promoter to work with to bring some shows to Johnson Hagood Stadium, and I think that would be a great venue for some outdoor shows.
Yeah, it would be, and we're looking forward to seeing more fun there in the Charleston area. The typical, I just know someone who went down the other day to a Disney on Ice thing at North Charleston. What are the most common current in Charleston area places to go see an outdoor concert?
Outdoor concert? There's a place called The Bend here in Charleston on the banks of the Ashley River that has shows. I think there's an amphitheater in Hanahan, but that's about it as far as outdoor venues that I can think of.
And you should know because you're a music guy, just like me.
Yeah, most of the others are like the North Charleston Coliseum or the Performing Arts Center at the Coliseum, Charleston Music Hall downtown, and then the Music Farm is actually going to be. It's been closed down for about a year, but it's going to be reopening as well. But yeah, a good outdoor venue that can hold 7,000 to 15,000 fans or something like that for a concert would be fit in very well here in Charleston, I think.
It would, and the Citadel does have a history of having concerts. Yours truly, even as a cadet, helped work a Kenny Rogers and Eddie Rabbitt concert at McAllister Fieldhouse. So if we can have the Gambler come, I know we can maybe have somebody over at Johnson Hagood Stadium. We have a correct answer, Jeff, on our trivia question, and that Knob Knowledge trivia question, again, brought to you by BigRedPalmetto.store. The question this week, since our special guest earlier in the hour was Chris Lemonis, 1992 alum and the current head coach of the national champion Mississippi State Bulldogs. The question was asked, what jersey number does Coach Lemonis have today that he actually also wore that same number as a Citadel Bulldog? Congratulations to Greg Copland. He has correctly guessed that Chris Lemonis wore jersey number. Take a guess, Jeff. You've got 99 choices.
99 choices. I'm going to go with 22.
You are correct. Man, Jeff, you're just a sage. Yes, Chris Lemonis. That's not hard to find out because, as we know in baseball, the coaches wear jerseys. So, yes, he is jersey number 22. Greg, we've got a $25 gift certificate headed your way, courtesy of Big Red Palmetto Store. Jeff, any other thing athletic-wise, anything else you need to get off your chest before we say goodbye for the week?
No, the basketball team opens next week. Their first game is at Pitt on November 9th. And one bit of news came out in the last week. Fletcher Avey, the former Citadel guard who had entered the transfer portal, has committed to UNC Asheville, which is near his home in North Carolina. So that's where it looks like he will continue his college and basketball career.
All right. Wish him all the best, and also want to wish all of our NFL Bulldogs the best as the NFL cranking it up. And again, great to have Chris Lemonis on here. Baseball has been a pretty big deal for most across the Southeast in the last few days. Most people, I would say, are Braves fans, and what a great championship they brought on Tuesday from Houston. And again, thanks to the Mississippi State head coach Lemonis for coming on our program. Jeff, we'll be back with you next week. Thank you. Have a great week. Jeff _ from the PC is where you'll find him.
Thank you, John.
All
Have
right.
a good week.
And same to you. And same to all of you. All have a great week. And we'll be back here next week with more fun and more talk about those dogs here on Citadel Greyline.